Welcome to United Nations Academic Impact and our digital discussion series podcast. Today, we'll be talking to Lauren DuBois, the assistant curator at SeaWorld in San Diego, where she takes care of the only colony of emperor penguins in North America. She recently returned from the 20-day-long Homeward-bound expedition to Antarctica, which took place in December 2016. The Homeward-bound expedition is a groundbreaking initiative for women in science to promote their leadership role, especially in the matter of climate change and sustainability. Today's podcast will help us develop a better understanding of this inspiring voyage to Antarctica and the leadership role of women in science. Hello, Lauren. Happy to have you here with us.
Oh, hello, Kim. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. We're just going to start off with our first question. You have a very unique specialty. What inspired you to look after penguins?
Well, I could very easily say that it's very easy to look after penguins and take care of them just because they're so personable. But I have a very unique sort of path in how I managed to go and work with penguins is that I started working at SeaWorld, and I actually started in the education department. And I had an opportunity while I was there to actually help raise some penguin chicks. When the penguin encounter first opened, they were actually going down and they would collect eggs from penguins. And penguins generally lay 2 eggs. So by taking 1 egg and bringing them back to our facility to hand rear, that still left 1 egg for those birds in the wild to take care of them. And I just really started working with them and found that, this was really a passion. I have always loved animals, and I go back to many times of when I had opportunities to, work with animals. And when I first started in my career, it was never really something that I thought that, I can be a zookeeper, I can take care of animals, because there's really nothing in college that tells you, hey, you can work with animals. But I remember going to the zoo as a child and sitting and watching, just staring and watching the birds all the time. So I knew that there was a passion there, and when I was able just to see my first penguins and start working with them, that really, inspired me to start learning as much as possible. And I did a lot of on-the-job training, and from that time of raising penguin chicks, penguins just have that natural hook and just grabbed me, and I just continued to be able to work and know that they're great ambassadors for not only their species but for the environment, and knew that they really are a great way for people to interact with animals and nature, and that really, I think, is part of why I really started working with those animals.
Great. What has been the most rewarding part of your current career?
I think there are a lot of just rewarding parts. Not only is just working with the animals and being able to see an animal that you, maybe have raised. I've raised many penguin chicks and then seen them gone on to be penguins and parents on their own. So I think somewhere along the line, I'm a great-great-grandmother to some penguins, a great-grand-penguin to some penguins. And that is just really, great to see that we've created such a fantastic habitat for the animals that they are going through their natural behaviors, and that's also giving us an opportunity to learn. When we went down to Antarctica, we learned that there's probably not more than maybe 50,000 to maybe 60,000 people that visit Antarctica a year, and that really doesn't give people a true understanding of what these animals are like. And by having the animals at SeaWorld, we're really able to give those people an opportunity to see those animals. So that's really rewarding to not only see the penguins and do their natural behaviors, but to also work with people and see many guests that come to the park. Millions of people that visit zoos and aquariums every year have this opportunity to learn about the animals, and really I believe that when you can see the animals and learn a little bit more about these animals, you really have a better appreciation and you have a better understanding of how we all fit into this natural world of, we really need to protect it. And I think that is, something that I've always enjoyed is talking to people. But also through working with the animals, we also have this opportunity to work with scientists and researchers. And these are people that are doing, really incredible hands-on work. We're working with one researcher that has been doing a dive study with emperor penguins. And to be able to see some of the work that he's done and understand that, how deep emperor penguins can dive and how long they can stay under the water. And, he's telling us that they can go, 500 meters and stay under the water for 20 to 30 minutes. And what does that do to their lungs? And why are they going this deep? And it's just amazing to be able to share that with, people who may not understand, the big physiology about these animals. It's really what I really enjoy doing, is being able to share this information and taking the science and being able to put it into terms that anybody can understand.
Awesome. What has been the most challenging part of your career as a female then?
I feel that I've been fairly lucky in my field. Many of my superiors and bosses and people I work with are female, so we have a really great bond. I think not only as being just females, but it's a very nurturing environment. When I look at our corporate world, and that's not just in the park, but in the corporate world throughout the United States, there really is a gap of seeing women in higher leadership roles, and I see that sort of filtering down around. But what I see in my job is that, we really work together. Like I said, I've had probably the majority of my work crew is female, and that we have a really great relationship to work together with everybody, and whether we're males or females, and whether we're younger or older, we have a very large age range as well. And I think, for challenges, I think, the only thing that I can really see is that some of it is a very physical job, and sometimes you need a little more physical strength, and that's something that we don't always have. But I also see that, there's a lot of the women that I work with that are going for higher degrees. They're going back to school to get a master's. There's many people that I work with that have PhDs. But it's a lot of times they're not going into a lot of the sciences. A lot of it is more a variety of different degrees. Some of it is biology, some of it's psychology, but some of it, it's not always related to what exactly we're doing. So I think just being able to support that and sort of seeing that there's no reason why, anybody could get a position, whether they're male or female. We're really trying to treat everybody equally.
Great. So, you have an interest in sustainability and preserving our natural world. What do you think is the biggest challenge to our environment today?
Well, I think, when I look at that, I think trying to create sustainable environments, I look at that in how we're trying to create a sustainable population of our penguins just within within North America. And we're part of the Zoo and Aquariums Associations, and really we work with something called a stud book. And those create sustainabilities within our genetic populations of penguins, and actually a variety of animals within the zoo. And that really is something that, as I looked at in a very small population, that can be, very concerning. We want to make sure there's complete genetic diversity within the zoo community. And taking that a little bit out to the natural world, we really are looking at areas that, we're losing a lot of land to where species need to survive. I live in, Southern California, and I grew up in Los Angeles, and I'm now learning about there's a mountain lion up there that is, sort of has a specific territory that he's going into. People are seeing him in their neighborhoods, and he's still up in the mountains of LA, but he's also cutting down and looking into people's backyards. And I look at that going, we want to create a sustainable population for these animals, but we, as people, need housing. We need to grow out, and we're sort of taking over some of this land where we need to create some sort of sustainable situations where we can actually care for these animals. So it's knowing, what we're doing impacts our natural world, and how we can make those changes that create less of an impact for the animals that we live in, the forests that we're living in, the marshlands, and our water lands as well. I really look at, the water sea level rise going down to Antarctica, and knowing that, if the ice melts down there, we could have a 13-foot rise in sea level, which would impact us incredibly. We would lose a lot of our seashores, and what would happen to the people that are living along the seashores? What happens to the animals that are living along those seashores? So I see a lot of that, and I think, really as we're looking at that, I think we need to be able to communicate that science in a way that is understandable for everyone. When we look at going to our congressmen or our state, government, or even our, national government, we really want to be sure that we can have that science so it's understandable, but that not only are public officials, but the people, the constituents that are also part of that they understand and why it's so important that we need to take care of our natural world and preserve this, because at some point, not only will, losing a species of animal is, to me, just devastating, but at some point we will have an economic impact. And what does that economic impact do? It'll make us harder to try and preserve these animals and our natural environment. That just makes it, our world so much better.
Good. Now we're going to talk about your expedition to Antarctica. What motivated you to take part in the Homeward Bound expedition?
Well, I saw it as a great opportunity. One of the participants that was on the trip sent me the application, and I just looked at it and thought, what a great opportunity. One, not only to go to Antarctica, but also to be with scientists and like-minded women who were working toward the same goal, and that was to find ways to, be at the table for policy changes for climate change. And looking at the roster of all the women on there, it was just, I felt an incredible honor to be a part of this group that, learn some leadership skills so that we are stronger together as we're at the table, but also becoming really just learning the different aspects of, what everybody on the trip was doing. And it just became a really great opportunity to learn, to benchmark with a lot of women, to also support each other, that as we go through, I can see us going through many different changes in the years to come, and we have a fantastic support group. And just that wherever we are all working toward the same thing. We want to protect this environment for not only the world itself, but for our families and for our communities.
Thank you. What is the main insight or lesson you gained from participating in Homeward Bound voyage?
I did learn, one of the things that I think that I've been going through since I've been back is I learned a lot of insight about myself and what is important to me. And by coming back, finding that, having a real purpose and a drive to do many of the things that I do, not only in my work but in my personal life, I'm really looking to make sure that there's a good positive outcome in all the work that I do, and to make sure that, I do come out with not only my life is fulfilling, but by having a fulfilling life and moving forward, it will have some impact in the environment and the animals that I take care of. Those penguins are great species to talk about the environment, and, they are just something that really draws people in, and be able to have some skills and opportunities now to really work forward and, have people learn a little bit more about Antarctica and how special it is and how important it is to our world, but also to be able to know that people do have an opportunity to make changes, even though they may not feel that they are empowered to do that. One person can really make a change, and to let people know that, small changes make big differences in the world.
That's awesome. What tips would you give young people facing a challenge such as your expedition in their lives?
Well, I would say, if people are facing any challenges, always, and this is maybe difficult to always do it in the face of adversity, but always remain positive. There's always an outcome. You can always find the positive outcome of, whatever challenge is. Throughout my life, I've had many ups and downs, and, while I look at how great some of the, my achievements are, the things that really resonate are the things that maybe weren't as successful, and I take those as learning opportunities. And I think if people just find their passion, I found my passion in working with animals and caring for them. I've had some amazing opportunities working with the penguins where, I've raised penguins. I've been able to travel with them. I was able to help during an oil spill in South Africa about 17 years ago. And when you find your passion, don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something that you find passionate, whether it's going into science, whether it's, going into engineering or mathematics. You can do just about anything. And whatever you do, and if you're passionate, you can make changes in the world. If you see something that is not, economically right or naturally right, or you want to save a species or an environment, you can do that. And I really encourage young people to find what their passion is and really get out and see what that is, and get out in nature, experience the world, do whatever you can, and really you can be the change that you want to be. If you want to see a change in something, you can really make that happen, and you can make that a positive happen.
Thank you. Thank you again, Lauren. We really appreciate you being here with us today, sharing your inspiring stories.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay. For more information about the Homeward Bound expedition, please visit homewardboundproject.com.au. Thank you for joining UN Academic Impact and our Digital Discussion Series podcast. If you wanted to find out more about UNAI and our activities, visit our website at academicimpact.un.org or join the conversation on social media at ImpactUN.